Hello and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Andrea Gaughan and I'm a knitwear designer based in Asheville, North Carolina, and you are watching Knitwear Design Diaries, which I have kind of retitled my knitting podcast that this past year, and I'm trying to upload one video a month and share what I finished in the past month, what new releases I have coming out, what I've been working on, and sometimes previews of new things I'm like swatching are gonna start soon. So I have a lot that I would like to share with you today. I think I want to try to keep these around like a half hour to 45 minutes because I feel like if I go longer than 45 minutes, it starts to get a little rambly. So we'll see. I feel like I could talk for hours right now about things I've been working on, and I went to Nash Yarn Fest, but I don't want to make this super long. So let's see how much I can get to in 45 minutes. So the most important things I'm going to talk about is I'll tell you about what I'm wearing, which is my next upcoming release. I will show you a finished object that I finished since the last time I recorded, and then I have 3 whips to show you, all of which I'm very excited about. And then if I have time, I might do like a small little yarn haul from Nash Yarn Fest, which I really didn't get that much, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, thank you. Welcome if you are watching my podcast for the first time, and thank you for tuning back in if you are new. I'm gonna get right into it. So, this tee that I'm wearing is called Kingfisher Tee, and it is knit up in Kelbourne Woolens Mojave, which I thought I had a full skein left over to show you the label, but I do not know where it is, but I'll give you a little close-up of the, oh look! See? So smart. I have a yarn label inside this last little bit that was left. Oh, the tag is over part of the title, but this is Kelbourne Woolens Mojave, and as you can see, it is a cotton linen blend, and it's sport weight, and this color is called Cactus Green. Cactus Green. It's a very kind of bluish green. Definitely a lot more bluish than, I feel like I love green, but I do tend to go for more like yellow green sometimes. I feel like chartreuse leaning, but I feel like this is really great for a spring summer design. And this is my first time working with this yarn, but I have worked with a bunch of other Kelbourne Woolens yarns in the past, so I was very excited to get to work with this cotton linen blend for the first time. So this design, I think last time I recorded it was done, but I didn't actually try it on. I think it was cold in the house. We've had quite the change here in Asheville over the past year, over the past month. It has been very warm. And we have 75 today, so it's perfect for breaking out my lace tee. And let me try to stand up so you can see more of this. Oh yeah, there you go. So as you can see, it's a very relaxed fit, pretty full length, and short sleeves, but the short sleeves are nearly elbow length. Yes, I feel like this exactly achieved my desired fit of like a really loose and comfortable tee for summer, and kind of my vision was that it could be worn as sort of like a cover-up over a bathing suit or over a tank top, and then with these lace columns would be like nice and airy and breezy and not too hot, and so I didn't want something that was like close to skin, although I do think this stitch pattern would look cool in something tighter fitting because it would kind of like stretch out the lace even more. But let me try to give you a close-up as well of this lace pattern. So this is an extremely simple eyelet lace where there's 2 yarn overs done in a row and then worked on the next row the whole way down just in straight columns, and it creates this really open column that I feel like is really cool contrast with the stockinette columns between them. And it's just the exact same pattern done on the front, back, and sleeves. And it's worked top down, so it's very easy to modify the sleeves and body to your ideal length. The test knit is still going on, and we have both testers who are not working any additional sleeve length at all. They're either not finishing it or just picking up stitches here and working ribbing right away, or just leaving it totally unfinished. And then I think there's at least one person who is doing a long sleeve version, or at least someone said that they wanted to do that. Well, I'm not sure if they're continuing with that plan, but we'll see. So this is going to come out May 22nd, so there's still, I think, nearly 4 full weeks left in the test knit, 3 or 4 weeks. So yeah, a couple people have finished up, but a lot of people, I haven't seen their finished photos yet to see what they've done, but we're definitely gonna have some nice variations, which I always appreciate because I would love to just knit a ton of variations of each design to show the options of like I would have loved to do a long sleeve version of this. I think that would be really cute. But it just wasn't realistic because I have so many different design ideas I want to get to. If I knit every variation I could think of with each design, I just wouldn't be able to have the time to start working on new things. So it's always very exciting to me when test knitters are interested in doing something that I was already thinking about, which is that this would make a great long sleeve tee. I hadn't even thought about the just picking up stitches and doing the ribbing right away for a shorter sleeve, but I think that would be very cute as well. Okay, so I don't think I'm going to say anything else about this, except if you are interested in knitting your own version of this, make sure you are signed up for my newsletter. That is always the first place I announce when a release happens, and then I always have my patterns on sale for 20% off release weekend. You don't need to be a newsletter subscriber to get the discount. Like, I announce it on Instagram and Ravelry too, but the newsletter is a great way to make sure you don't miss the release window to get that sale, because, you know, Instagram can be so fickle and who knows if you'll see the post when it comes out. Email's a good guarantee to make sure you can get the pattern right when it comes out. Okay, so the main thing I kind of want to spend some time talking about is my newest finished object, which unfortunately is still a bit damp. So I have it laying over here. I'm gonna grab it. I don't think I'm gonna try it on because I don't know how representative the fit is truly gonna be. But I still show it to you and talk about it with you. I actually blocked it like 2 days ago, but I guess it's been, I don't know. I'm really shocked that it's not dry yet. A lot of times I'll put a fan on something overnight, like a wool sweater, because I'm like, there's no way it's gonna dry overnight, and I have a pretty powerful like shop fan and it will help it dry. But I'm like, oh, this is like mostly plant fibers, it's a tank top, it will dry, and I should have put the fan on it. Let me grab it. Oh yeah, it is very much still damp. Okay, so this is a design that I have named Honeysuckle Top, and it is a tank top knit up in cotton lino from the Wandering Flock. And it has these I-cord straps that will be tied into bows. I didn't want to have them tied while blocking it and kind of like get, I didn't want to have the I-cords have like indentations from the bow. So I'm going to wait till it's totally dry to have these bows in their final placement, but it's gonna have these cute little bows at the shoulders, and then it's hard to show you that without my face being moving in focus. Okay, anyway, so it's gonna have cute little bow ties at the shoulders, and I think it's a very cute detail, but also extremely functional, because that means that you can adjust how high the neckline sits, and you could even wear it like higher sometimes, lower other times, or as you're wearing it, these I-cords might stretch out. That is something I have had happen like years and years ago. I had a ripple bralette from Jessie Made Designs that I knit and wore all the time, but over time the straps did stretch out, and I should totally just go back and like cut them, take out a few rows and graft it back together, but I have never done that. And it is now like very low cut, so even though it's a bralette, like I would wear it as a top. And I have no problem with wearing things that are low cut, but just over time the weight of it pulling down has stretched out those straps, and it's a lot more low cut than I had intended for it to be, and I unfortunately don't wear it anymore. So I feel like that was a little lesson in the value of something like an I-cord strap that does have that potential to get stretched out over time. The bow ties are a great way to make sure that the top will always fit properly because you can just adjust the placement of the bow ties. So if you watched last month's podcast, you may have think you saw the very beginning of this, but I actually frogged everything of what I had last time. I'm pretty sure that I got pretty far with the first version before frogging the whole thing, and that was because I got to the point where I was like, oh, okay, I'll go and work the straps now to make sure everything's good. It is good. I didn't wait till the very end because everything was not good. And I feel like I'm just learning over and over that there's so many things when I'm making a new design that I'm like, oh, of course this will work out how I think it is, but then real life is different. So what happened here is that I have I-cord edging at the edge of the armholes, at the top, and then they go nicely into the straps, as you can see. And I'm extremely happy with how this worked out. And I have done I-cord edging on lots of different designs, mostly stockinette, but also some like lace cable designs. So I've done I-cord edging lots of times. But with this stitch pattern, which is half brioche, I had just a, what did I have originally? Now I gotta remember. I think what I had is I just had a brioche stitch at the edge, but whatever my previous version was, the selvage stitch created way too big of a gap between the main fabric and then the stitch that's at the very edge that gets picked up for your edging. There was a very noticeable gap in the fabric between the actual fabric and this I-cord edge that I did not anticipate, but because of how the half brioche works, and there are, if you haven't worked half brioche or brioche before, it's worked by, a lot of the columns are actually every thing that looks like a single row, like this V column. It looks like every V would be a row, but that's actually 2 rows, and that stitch is slipped every other row, and there's a yarn over that's worked there. And that combination of the slipping a stitch and yarn over kind of creates a bigger gap, or a potential for a gap at the edge of that fabric. So I was like, I don't need to swatch the edging. I know how I-cord edging works, but I didn't know how brioche plus I-cord edging would look. And I went back and responsibly did an actual little mini swatch with some new edging types, and or not new edging types, but new selvage stitches to see what the best option was for that edge, and ended up finding a version that I was very happy with. So this is like the little swatch of what I ended up doing for the final version. And I don't think I think I just frogged what didn't look right. I don't have an example to show you of the part that didn't look right, but if you can just imagine this edge here, not sitting right up against the edge of the fabric, but like being a series of holes between the edge. So, anyway, that's the kind of thing I want to be kind of talking about in this podcast, of being like, one, all the things you couldn't foresee, and that hopefully if you're ever buying a knitting pattern, it has already thought about what kind of selvage stitch you need to have to work with the edging later. But even as someone who is designing the pattern, sometimes I'll be overconfident of how I think something is going to work out and not realize. So, but I feel like that's the value of designing, so that by the time anyone goes to knit this pattern, I've already figured that out for them, and I am really, really happy with how the edging ended up working out on this. So how it's actually worked is these armhole edgings, underarm edgings are worked first, and then you knit a long I-cord. It's definitely takes some time, but I feel like it's so worth it. And then you go right in. Oh my gosh, does not want to not focus my face. And then you go right in from that I-cord strap to this I-cord edging, work across, and at the end of that, go right back into the other strap. And I feel like it makes just such a nice, clean detail where those all join. Okay, and the second unexpected thing that happened with this design, but I don't think is negative. That was unexpected but negative, and I fixed it. But the second unexpected thing is not negative, but the final design looks different than I anticipated. So this is the first time ever I've worked A-line shaping, which is having increases along the line of the body, and it's pretty dramatic. You can see it's like a full, I think it's 8 inches are increased, so there's actually slight negative ease at the bust, and then there are increases, and I wanted to have like a flowy drapey, because this is like a very beautiful drapey fabric, flowy drapey bottom. With how I was imagining this A-line shaping would turn out is more how I've seen it work in things that are sewn from fabric, where it ends up being kind of like ruffled. But the weight of the fabric makes it so that the edges at the sides actually appear longer when worked. So it's knit with a flat hem, and if you lay it out to block, it's a flat line here. But because of those side increases, where that extra fabric actually wants to go is down at the side. So it creates this like high-low sort of hem but then it's the same, and it's going to be the same in the back. So it kind of like dips down at the sides. You know, I'll put it on. I haven't put it on yet. I think the draping is just a little extra dramatic at the moment because of that being a little damp. I bound this off way too tight as part of why I don't want to take that on and off. But I wrote in the pattern, bind off loosely, after I bound off too tight, because I did not think it was going to be that tight of a neckline. Okay, let me tie some quick bows here. So I feel like this is something where I really like the result, but I kind of had to readjust my expectations, because it just, the bottom hem did not look exactly like my vision, but I don't think that it's a negative. I think it actually looks pretty cool. It's just different than my initial vision. But another thing, this is like something that would be very clear to someone when purchasing the pattern. I of course wouldn't wear it with like this tank underneath it. But I think it's very cute, and I like how it has this kind of up and down thing, but it's just very interesting. I feel like it will be different when it dries. So all this extra fabric, I kind of okay, so you can see how it has some negative ease here, and then the extra fabric is doing like some of the ruffling, I thought, but really even though from here to here is the same length, like you are increasing, sorry, I hope I'm explaining this well. So the only thing that's happening is increases here. So this length is the same as this length as this length. It's not actually longer here, but the fabric wants to, I think because of this brioche, like it wants to kind of stretch to be not as wide as it is here. They close in more, and then that adds to the length on the sides. So there's no like kind of short rows or something creating this different in length. But I think it's very cute. I'm just adjusting to the result. And then I mean, it looks kind of silly with the other tank top underneath, but I'm really, really happy with how the whole top part works and how the little cute bows look. And then with the nice long straps, you can either kind of have the like long dangles or go for a more dramatic bow. I'll like more carefully decide on the placement when I tie these in their final spots, but it's nice. I just have this like tied in a single knot, not a double knot, but the friction of the material makes it so that it's really I don't think there's any risk of it coming untied with even just a single knot. Okay, so this is going to be going into testing next week, which means I have a test call coming out for this design this Friday. So I'm recording this Wednesday, the 29th of April, and the test call for Honeysuckle is going to be coming out Friday, May 1st, in 2 days. And this is knit up in the Wandering Flocks Cotton Lino, and I actually have, I'm just untying these bows. I'm gonna put it back to finish drying. Okay, so I know that brioche eats up a lot of yarn, so I was very much overestimating how much yarn I thought I would need, so I did have a full leftover skein of this. So this is the Wandering Flocks Cotton Lino, and it is a gorgeous blend of cotton, silk, linen, and baby alpaca. Now I'll put up here on the screen that label so you can see all the percentages. But it's called Cotton Lino because it is primarily cotton and linen, but then it does also have that alpaca and silk, and I feel like especially the silk gives it just a bit of a sheen that is really, really beautiful and sets it apart from other cotton linen yarns. Like this cotton linen yarn I absolutely love, but you can see there's no, it's a very matte yarn, which I feel like is definitely contrasting with this, having that you can really see, I think in this lighting, that sheen, that slight sheen. So it's not like 100% silk yarn would be, but it's got luster, and I just completely love all the different colors that the Wandering Flock does, and this color is called Poppy, and I really love it. I'm like, I just want to knit more stuff in this. And this pattern, like I said, is going to go into testing very soon, and then my intention is that it's going to come out at the very beginning of July, and then so after Kingfisher's release in May, that is going to be my next release. I was originally aiming to have a release come out every month of 2026, but I kind of had to make some calls the past few weeks and say I'm not gonna have a release every month of the summer, and so I've kind of had my releases towards the end of the month, and so I'm gonna have a release toward the end of May, and then this release in early July, and not have a June release. But I do have twice a year a sale on all my patterns at the solstices. So June I will have a summer solstice pattern sale, where I have all my patterns be 30% off for a weekend. So I feel like that's still good that I can have some kind of like, not a release, but something happening that month that I can be promoting. And then I feel like I like doing it twice a year because I think people are kind of looking at and thinking of totally different patterns at those 2 times of year at the solstices. So yeah, there's no kind of real like trying to be a knitwear designer for my job. I just have to make up like how many releases do I need to have to make this work, and I feel like, well, one, just how accounting works typically, like you track your sales on a monthly basis because that's just how the calendar works. And then also I feel like when a new month starts, it's easy to get like a kind of a little burst of energy of like, okay, I'm working on something new. It kind of marks the passage of time. That makes it work out really well, I feel like, to try to have a release every month. But of course, there's nothing magic about like a 30-day interval between releases. But last year I did only release 8 patterns, and I felt like that did not feel like enough for a single year for me personally. Who knows how that works for other people, but when it would be like a full 2 months between when I had a new pattern to promote and share, of course I have all my existing patterns to continuously promote and I have lots to work on, but not like I think people are gonna forget about me in 2 months, but it was more challenging to stay consistent with like content creation and promotion and it also, of course, would then lead to like more dramatic month-to-month dips in income. So I just felt like the goal this year of having a release a month is a very like concrete, easy thing to kind of think about. And so hopefully I will release 11 patterns this month, and June will be the only month without a new pattern release. And I feel like that's just as good. There's no reason that 12 is really the magic number and 11 is horrible. But yeah, I just using the information I had from the past, I felt like 8 was too low. So I am always going to keep thinking about and evaluating that, but a month to work on a pattern it definitely limits what I want to work on, and I do want to work on some patterns that are more advanced, experimental, but I kind of feel like I want to balance those with things that I think will be really wearable and knittable and like really valuable to do, but something that the execution won't take as long. So if there's something I think might take like a month and a half, I might want to balance that with some designs I think I could get done sooner. And of course I'm not, there's lots of overlap because I'm writing a pattern as I'm knitting other samples, as I'm doing test knits for other patterns, as I'm releasing other patterns. But on average, when you take, so it's not like on May 1st, I'll begin a pattern and then the last day of May, I'll be done it. And I do that every month, but I need, on average, every month, one pattern is going into testing, one pattern is being released, one sample is being finished, one new pattern is finished being written. So there's like a lot of interlocking pieces there. But yeah, that's some information about how I am trying to make this work. I feel like this year is going really well. I feel like the whole time I've been doing this, I've had enough encouragement of how it's going to want to keep going, but this is the first year I really feel like I think this is working. I think this is solidly like I want to keep growing my business, but I feel like I'm earning enough to feel very comfortable doing it full time, and that is amazing, but I want to stay on top of what needs to happen to keep this going, like with this once a month pattern release, because of course in an ideal world, yeah, if I could just work on whatever I thought was most fun, maybe I'd be working on a thing for 6 months and tinkering with it and making everything exactly perfect, or experimenting with a bunch of, like I was saying, variations on how one thing could be. But I couldn't make knitwear design my job if I could only release 2 patterns a year. It just wouldn't work. So yeah, I hope over time, as I have more and more patterns out, I could maybe dedicate some more time to more experimental things or more things that have multiple versions. But yeah, I don't know. That's it. I really hope I can continue to get some of your feedback. I really want to, I feel like a lot of the knitting and designing is interrelated into this, like, how do I make it work as a business? So I want to talk about that some, while not having this whole podcast be about like making my business work. But let's move on. I have, let's see, about a half hour here. That's perfect. I have 3 whips to show you, but I know I can kind of start talking about a whip a ton when it's very small, and I feel like it's better to wait till I have more to show you to get into all the details. So I'll kind of try to do like a 5-minute little preview of each whip, and then maybe when they're further along in future episodes, I can go more into depth. So one of these, the first one is, again, this is a new whip, but I did show it last time. But what I showed last time, I frogged and have restarted. And this is a design I am calling Wild Ginger Tee, and tea as in t-shirt. I just saying that out loud just now because people drink ginger tea. I didn't think before that. Usually, like, no one would think Kingfisher Tee, but ginger tea does sound like it could be ginger Tee. Anyway, Before I had a back shoulder shaping section worked, and I had that worked with increases to shape the shoulders, and I started picking up for the fronts, and a lot of knitting patterns that I see on Ravelry and Instagram, for all kinds of stitch patterns, the shoulder shaping is done with increases and you cast on at the back neck and increase. And I did that for Bloodroot, which is worked in rib, and I felt that worked out really well. But this is worked in stockinette, and I did that, and I felt like the fabric, stacking those increases every row, made the fabric really tight at the edge, and it did not have the kind of flexibility and smoothness that I want at that kind of, especially at that point with the shoulder seam. So I'm interested if any of you have knit patterns that are worked that way, where you cast on just at the back neck and then increase every row for the shoulders. Like, do you feel like there's puckering there? Because I haven't seen it ever pucker, but yeah. Again, oh, did I frog? I can't remember. I must have frogged the beginning section. Here, did I stuff it? I have it. I have it. So this is a little bit I knit the first time. And here's that every row increase. And I felt like when it was just this, it looked okay. Like, I kind of had to stretch this out a little. You can kind of see it one, of course, without blocking, like, things don't really look how they are. But then when I picked up stitches on this edge to start working the front, I could see this line was really getting pulled in, where this stockinette below wanted to stretch out, and on this side it wanted to stretch out, and this was like causing it to be really tight at that area. And that's because these every row increases are just making the fabric wider so quickly that this row of stitches is like, there's a really big variation from one side of the increase line to the other. So again, yeah, I felt like it looked fine here, but then when I picked up stitches on the other side, is like, this seemed like it was ruffled. But I was not satisfied with it, and I restarted, and I did what I've done in a lot of patterns for the shoulder shaping, and did just classic short row shoulder shaping. And that, I feel like, gives a lot more flexibility, and I feel like that line where the front is picked up from the back is perfect. There's like a little bit more structure than just the middle of stockinette is really stretchy. That line has like a little bit of structure, but it's not pulling in, it's not puckering. I mean, I feel like there's like a teeny little indents. You can see where the turns were, but I think blocking will even make those even more invisible. So this tee, first I'll tell you about the yarn. It is knit up in Gepard garn. It just says Gepard. Gepard's Wild and Soft base, which I purchased this from Ritual Dyes when they started carrying this yarn just recently. And it is a blend of merino and silk. And like I was saying about cotton lino, well, this is way more silk. It has a really beautiful sheen from that silk. And then I think it's really interesting. I don't know that I've seen another yarn like this. I'm sure it exists, but I hadn't previously used a yarn that was just silk and merino. And it is a really fantastic combination. And this color is called Red Panda. I think it's a cute name. What was I gonna say? Oh, what weight it is? It's fingering weight. For some reason, I'm second guessing myself here. It's a fingering weight yarn. I feel like maybe because the last two projects I was talking about are sport weight, I'm like, is this sport weight too? This is definitely a fingering weight yarn. Yeah, so it's a nice fine gauge and is gonna create, I like for a tee, because generally, just if something short sleeve, I tend to call it a tee, and if it's long sleeve, I'll call it a sweater. There's not really like, I think, a real difference between a short sleeve sweater or a long sleeve tee, and you know what I mean? Like, the sleeve length doesn't really make it one or the other, but in practicality, when I'm wearing something with short sleeves, I want a lighter weight fabric. I'm more likely to want plant fibers. So the end result ends up being a lot more like what I would imagine when someone says t-shirt versus sweater. But I know some people will make like a DK weight wool short sleeve sweater, but I don't feel like that would be super practical for me in my climate. But I think some people who maybe live in like the UK find that like they have a lot of weather where that feels practical. So anyway, I like for a tee for it to either be fingering weight or sport weight, but even like with sport weight, if with the little bit heavier weight, I like for it to be like looser, more open. And then I find that very practical for wearing in warmer weather or like kind of transitional weather from cool to warm weather. So this design, I'm probably already over my 5-minute mark. This design is a simultaneous set and sleeve tee, which I have talked about. Oh my god, my hair is all over this. It's so gross. Which I have talked about this construction method quite a bit with my Bloodroot Tee that has come out. But I have just done the part where I have joined the front and the back and picked up for the sleeves. But I can show you more about that and talk more about this next month, where I will either have this finished or a lot farther along, and you'll be able to see a lot more what's going on instead of this just little tiny kind of funny looking piece of material. But it's going to be a loose fitting stuck in a t-shirt. Okay, next whip. This one's exciting. I feel like this is my ooh, I want to get done my like highest priority work so I can get working on this. And while I was trying to get Honeysuckle finished, I put this like basically completely on hold for about 2 weeks, but I'm back to working on this. And this is my third version of Bloodroot, which is a pattern that has just recently been released, and currently a knit along is happening for that. And like I said, normally my releases, I'll have the pattern on sale for the weekend. With the knit along, I actually have the sale going on the complete length of the knit along. So if you're interested in knitting this, there is still a code BloodrootCal. Check the Ravelry pattern page, or I'll link, I'll actually just write the discount below. I don't want to say the wrong thing. But anyway, it is on sale through the end of the knit along, which still has over 5 weeks left. It's a 10-week knit along, and we are in week 5 now. So you could absolutely still join in. We have weekly prizes of a free pattern awarded randomly to one person in the chat every week. And then at the end, there's going to be gift card prizes to people who have finished their tees, but you can absolutely participate without even finishing. Some people have already finished, so some people have knit it in under 5 weeks, which is very impressive, because it is this is also a fingering weight tee, but it's possible. But of course, they're not expecting that anyone who would join in now would need to finish by the end. So you're still welcome to join at any point, get inspiration from other people, just have fun chatting with other people, and you don't necessarily need to finish. If any of you watching are in it, thank you so much for making it so fun so far. We have, I think, about 220 people participating in the Slack group. And it's like every day people are sharing new pictures of their whips, and we, like I said, have already some finished objects popping up. And it's been really helpful. This is definitely because of the unusual construction method and increasing in pattern, like on the more advanced side for a pattern. So people have been really helpful about when someone has a question. Usually another person in the knit along has already answered the question by the time I see it, which is really sweet. It just feels like it's really, you know, community, people helping each other out. But then anything about the pattern, I'm always there to answer the question, you know, if someone else doesn't answer it, or if they want clarification of like what my intention was in something. But I think that's great for particularly something that is like a little bit more on the advanced side, that it could allow someone who might be a little bit more nervous about if they're ready to take on the pattern or not, to knit it as part of the knit along. And there's like a robust support system for if you have any questions. So as you can see, I have a very colorful stripy version going on, and I have 5 colors, and I'm just working 4 rows in each. And this is all knitting for olive merino, and the colors are rust, brown bear, mustard, petroleum green, and eucalyptus. And I had 3 of them. I had the mustard, no, I had the rust, petroleum green, and eucalyptus already in stash. One left over from a project and 2 I got for a project I never ended up doing. And then I was kind of playing around with like colors I already had. I knew I wanted to do like a whole bunch of different colors and other Knitting for Olive colors. And I honestly have quite a bit of Knitting for Olive in stash, so I could have made a version that was like truly scrappy with all the colors I had. But I knew I just love so many of their colors. I had no problem just getting a couple more, and then if I have leftovers all these colors, I could just do even more scrappy things. I feel like it's not a bad thing to get more and more colors of a yarn you know you really like, because it's easy to then have like a palette of them to mix and match in future projects. So I ended up ordering the mustard and brown bear to complete the color palette, and I was looking on Pinterest actually, which I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with Pinterest. I think there's like so many, it could be used for so many cool things, and then it also kind of sucks. And I feel like if you know, you know. It's a lot of like AI slop and horrible ads, but it also is a huge database of like really cool user uploaded stuff at the same time. But I was looking at a lot of different like color palette inspirations, and I was looking at like earthy, retro kind of things, and when I posted this on Instagram, people say that it looked like retro vintage, so I feel like I didn't want to go too hard into like a 70s color theme or something like that, but just kind of have some more fun with pairing different colors together than I normally would, and I'm really pleased with how it is all knitting up. Okay, one more whip to show you. So this is the very start of what is going to be my first release for the fall, and this is a design that I've been thinking about for I think literally years. But it is going to be a pullover version of my South Slope vest, which several people, I put it here so I could show you. This is a pattern I released. Oh my god. If you've been following me for a while, you might know I used to have short hair. I had like shaved short hair to quite short hair to growing it out a little bit, like on and off kind of for the past 10 years. And only in the past, this is the longest my hair has been in 10 years. But when you have longer hair, there's a lot more hair everywhere. It's like I'm kind of getting reused to it. But I actually think I am gonna probably in the next couple days cut my hair back at least a couple inches. But anyway, this whole having hair all over my projects is a little bit new to me again, because I've never really been a knitter with having this much hair before. Anyway, this is a design I released a year and a half ago. Not this past winter, but the winter before, I believe. And it uses some special techniques, helical knitting in the round and a special 1x1 striping method in the top to do these really cute little micro stripes. That is every single row you are changing color. And the methods make it so that only during the shoulder shaping do you have to cut and rejoin the yarn. And everywhere else you keep both colors attached, so you're not weaving in a million ends. If you've done striping, you have probably learned that knitting flat, you need to do 2 row stripes or 4 row stripes or 6 row stripes. You need to do an even number so that if your ball of yarn is attached here and you knit across, if your balls of yarn are both attached here, if you knit across and then start the next row, the next color you need isn't here, it's on the other side. So you need to knit across and back to then switch colors and not have to break them. But this method allows you to do this by you knit 2 rows on the right side and then 2 rows on the wrong side. So you knit both colors, you knit across in one color, across in the other color, and then back in one color, back in the other color. So it's very fun to do. It's very, like, it's a unique knitting experience. And it feels strange at first, but once you kind of get into the flow of it, it's quite easy. And I like it kind of, it kind of makes a dynamic fabric because the stripes are so thin. Like up close you can really see the stripes, but it kind of blurs together a bit. Like, I mean, I think the camera is making it extra blur. But I think it adds a lot of interest and looks really cool. And let's So since I made that, well, I was kind of interested in the stripes, doing stripes like that for a pullover, but I was like, I don't know how it's gonna work for sleeves and it's too complicated, a vest is easier. But then once I finished the vest, I was like, oh, I could literally just pick up sleeves and work them in the round. But the thing is, I don't want to do short row shaping in the sleeves. I just want to have the short rows be for the shoulders because, like I said, you do have to cut and rejoin for short rows. So I'm doing a drop shoulder sweater, so it's much wider, much wider, and there are more short rows, so I'm literally just did the part where there are a bunch of ends to weave in, but I think I'm gonna do a little like video of how I deal with them to make sure you're not leaving holes and you can deal with all this craziness. But it's really like, you know, one sitting, if you sit down on the weekend and get it done, you can get this done, weave the ends in, and then the entire rest of the sweater just has a normal amount of ends to weave in. And I am working it in the same yarn, which is Rerum Natura's Gilliatt. But what, I took the labels off these. I do not know what I did with them. This color I believe is called Poivre et Sel, which is salt and pepper in French. Rerum Natura's a French yarn company. And it's a nice, like, heathered, really light gray to beige to white color. Very nice. And I think this one is called Cedre, as in the French word for cedar, which I said I don't do a lot of like blue greens, but honestly this is kind of like a darker shade of the green I'm wearing right now, and I do really like it. So this I was very excited to start on. It's definitely not my primary project. I'm trying to primarily knit on Wild Ginger, the simultaneous set and sleeve tee I showed you, and then kind of my like most exciting for fun project is Bloodroot. But this is my third whip, which I don't normally have 3 whips that I'm working on very actively, but because those are both fingering weight, very small gauges, I thought it would be nice just to have something going that was kind of a bigger gauge. I've discussed in the past, I've had like some elbow issues if I'm doing too much like really fine stuff, so I just want to make sure I feel like generally just if I have more variety in what I'm knitting, it makes sure I don't like aggravate my elbow by knitting too much. Okay, so if you got all the way here, thank you so much for hanging out with me and listening to what I've been up to. I feel like I'm always excited. Of course, because I chose to do knitting as my job and knitwear design is my job, I just love doing this and always am excited, but I feel like I'm particularly in a period where I just have like so many more ideas than I have time for, and that helps me a lot to be motivated to like get things done as quickly as I can, because I have like a bunch of swatches over here and a bunch of yarn over here for other things I'm excited to get working on soon. And I even had like some swatches I wanted to show you, but I'm like, I'll wait until I have the design going. I have plenty to talk about. But I feel like I'm really excited about my releases for the rest of the spring and summer, but I'm really excited about some different ideas I have for the fall and excited to get working on more of those. So if you enjoyed hanging out and listening to me talk about this, make sure you are subscribed to my channel. I'm going to be uploading a video every month in this Knitwear Designer Diary series. And what I'm personally decided to do, because I go back and forth about whether I feel like YouTube is a good fit. I get a lot of anxiety recording myself, but I also love talking about knitting. So it's kind of like a balance of, oh, it's a thing I could do where I just get to talk about my knitting. But anyway, I decided personally to commit to doing the year of recording once a month and see how that goes, and decide after that if it's something I want to continue doing or if I want to change the frequency. So yeah, I would appreciate your feedback along the way. I think also what I'm more and more thinking about either at the end of the year or in the fall is trying to just actually do what I've been meaning to do for a long time, is upload more videos that are not just podcast style, but getting more in depth on a specific topic. So for example, like my favorite summer yarns, or comparing different construction methods, or talking about fit considerations or grading or things like that, and do a more like dedicated video. But honestly, it's just something I'm like, how would I have the time to do more stuff that I'm already doing? I feel like I'm already maxing out my energy a lot of the time, trying to get my releases done on that once a month schedule. But I do think that that would be something valuable to do. So I kind of feel like I have to decide what the trade-off would be of something else to let go of to make room for that. But I really enjoy watching that kind of content from other people. So anyway, that's my thoughts about my future videos. Let me know if I did do some kind of like special topic videos. If you ever let me know, like if there's something I kind of touch on and you'd be interested in hearing more in depth about that, and let me know. That's something I could do, like store up a list of if and when I start doing that, like the topics people are actually really interested in hearing. So thank you so much for hanging out. If you want to, let me know in the comments if you were knitting while watching this, what you're knitting on, or even if you haven't been knitting while watching the podcast, what you've been knitting on lately and are excited about, because I always really appreciate, I feel like that's the classic thing of getting to know other knitters. They're like, what's the project you're really excited about? So let me know a project you're excited about in the comments. And I always read all your comments and I will do my best to reply. Okay, bye. I will see you next month.